I loved my wife from the moment I laid eyes on her when I was a kid. And if you love someone, it hurts you when you see them deviate from the thing that draws you to them. And since she's pursued her efforts at enlightening herself more thoroughly, and this investigation of Catholicism has been key to that, she's much more who she is.
Friends, in this extended interview with Jordan Peterson, fresh from the Easter Vigil, where his wife Tammy has entered into full communion with the Catholic Church, we're going to touch on a lot of beautiful stuff. He talks about the fact that fairy tales and what we love about them has come true in reality. He talks about the mystery of the cross as the point where everything converges and comes together. And he talks about the things that attract us, truth, beauty, and goodness, right? There are portals to the infinite. And that if we follow through and pass through that portal, it's a spiral. It's Jacob's ladder taking us up to an encounter with Christ. And that encounter for his wife Tammy, as he witnessed at the Easter Vigil, is a flourishing into her fullness, who she really is. She becomes more of who he fell in love with when he married her. So what a beautiful, very raw, authentic, and vulnerable interview here with Dr. Jordan Peterson. So let's dive in.
That's what the community is predicated on, and all of that's true. So
I know you're not coming at it from a theological point of view, but that, in essence, that idea of from the worst suffering, from the depths of despair, not only can you come out of that, but you can actually, new life can be born out of that, strength and hope. Fairy tale or reality?
Oh no, it's why or? Fairy tale and reality.
Pause, please.
There's no or there.
This is so good, and this is something that I have loved, this idea that it's in the writings of G.K. Chesterton, it's in C.S. Lewis, it's in J.R.R. Tolkien, that the gospel is the fairy tale that came true. And the fact that Dr. Jordan Peterson right now is naming it too. It's not either or, it's both and. It is the fairy tale. It's the thing we most desire to be true that actually is true in the end. That's what this is all about. And so the symbol of the cross is both a real thing and also a transcendent sign that we can enter into and ponder. Okay, let's keep going.
So the deepest fairy tales are the most real, that's for sure. Yeah, we don't understand fiction. We don't understand what fiction means. Fiction is a form of distillation. And I suppose at times the fictional and the real unite. And that's the essence of the Christian claim. I would say that's the right way of thinking about it. That's a way of thinking about it.
This conflation or collaboration of fiction, of reality, of story, and of my personal history, we know it's real. We can't just say it's not real. And what Jordan Peterson is saying here is that it's not only not real, it's more real. It's more real. We are living in the ordinary events of your life, which are also a drama, a story, right? The extraordinary is not distanced or cut off from your life. It's part of your story. It's what gets you up in the morning, quite honestly. It's what motivates us. It's what fires us up. It makes us dream, thirst, long, ache for the infinite, because we're starting to see in the ordinary pattern of life something extraordinary. The worlds coincide. So powerful. Okay, let's keep going. Love this.
No, I'm a smart person. I'm very verbally agile, and the temptation of intelligent people is to worship their own intelligence, or even to worship intelligence. And a lot of the reason the world is so unstable right now is because of that. Well, that's the Luciferian temptation. And what I learned was that the Luciferian temptation for me was to use my intellect as a weapon to obtain status, a weapon or an agent of manipulation. That in some ways that's the same thing. A weapon more
Wow. The self-awareness here is just awesome. People are asking the question of like, where is Jordan Peterson in the walk of faith? Has he accepted a faith? His wife Tammy just became Catholic. Is he going to become Catholic? It's great question. But the whole arc of his life is one of sincerity and openness and honesty, and he's so self-aware. I love that he's pointing out that he's aware of his intelligence. He's an incredible intellectual, no doubt. But the fact that he's translucent about that he sees himself and he sees this could be a trap is so refreshing, right? So there's a real humility underneath all of this, that he's realizing it's a gift and that it could also become a trap. Self-awareness is such a gift. Okay, let's keep going.
When we started this interview, we were talking about the Easter message and the powerful symbol of the cross. Jordan, when you look at the cross today, what does that symbol mean to you?
It's the point where everything comes together. That's what the cross means. It's the agony of life. That's what it is. It's the agony of life. And with God's grace, you might say, the triumph of life in the face of mortality, in the face of agony, in the face of malevolence. That's what it is. That's not a matter of... We're very confused about what faith is in the modern world. We think that faith is your assent, your verbal assent to a collection of descriptive statements. That's perhaps an element of faith, it's like the paint on a very thick wall. It's an element of faith, but the faith itself is, what would you say? It's the willingness to presume that being and becoming is good despite tragedy and malevolence.
Pause, please.
Right.
Tragedy, malevolence, suffering, right? The fact that he is facing this head on and has personally done so in the last few years in his life with his health. He had a real struggle a couple years ago. His wife, Tammy, nearly dying and really miraculously, we believe, cured of a very rare form of cancer. He's faced the cross and has faced suffering. And this is what's so beautiful and refreshing, especially given Jordan Peterson's huge following. You can try to ignore suffering completely and pretend it just doesn't exist. You can try to drown it, bury it with pleasures, the pursuit of pleasure and hedonism, or you can walk through the cross-shaped door. You can go right into suffering. And you can ask the question, what does this mean? With your arms outstretched, which is that position of vulnerability and kind of a nakedness, right? An uncluttered life where I'm stepping in. Because the suffering's going to come either way. And anyway, and it will come because this is where we are in a fallen and broken world. So here's a man of extreme honesty and self-awareness just saying, hey, let's go, let's face it. The cross is the point of everything. It's where everything comes together and meets. All right, let's keep going.
From the psychological perspective, and again, speaking strictly psychologically, we know that voluntary confrontation with what disturbs and blocks you is the universal pathway forward. That's indisputable. And so the limit case of that, the crucifix is the limit case of that. Now, what does that mean metaphysically? No one can say that. No one has an answer to that because no human being is capable of understanding even the significance of any moment, much less their entire life, much less the life of mankind. What role do we play in the cosmic order? No one knows that answer to that.
Is it futile to pursue it because it's just something we could never, even in our wildest dreams, comprehend?
No. It's the essence of all pursuits. Like Jacob's ladder, you're called upon to climb Jacob's ladder, right? And it spirals infinitely upward. Well, to where? Well, infinitely upward isn't a place, it's a direction, right? Heaven is a place that's perfect, that's getting better at the same time. Does it end? No. The abyss of hell is bottomless, right? The call of up is endless. And so anything that attracts here's a way of thinking about it. Anything that attracts your attention is a portal to the divine. And you'll pursue that thing that attracts your attention, that's your calling, and then it'll transmute, and you'll find yourself oriented in another direction. The spirit that remains constant through all the transformations of your calling, that's the divine.
Pause.
That's what the...
Wow. This is so good. Again, we're bringing so much here. There's so many things here. The cross being the point where everything comes together. The cross, in my image here, of being like a door that we pass through because we have to face the riddle of existence, the puzzle, the enigma of suffering, right, in a fallen world, the enigma and mystery of death. But through it all, through this way of the cross is also this way of beauty that is constantly speaking to us. And for Dr. Peterson here to say, whatever attracts you is a portal to the infinite. That is such an amazing insight. And so like the fuel that starts to spiral us up in pursuit of that thing that attracts us, that's that word eros we talk so much about in the theology of the body. Eros, the inner power that attracts us to what's true, good, and beautiful. That's God peeping through the lattices, peering through the fence, looking, searching, seeking. And so we're attracted and it becomes the portal to the infinite. Never ending, right? This is the adventure of life. And we can so easily, as Pope Benedict says, we can go to false infinities, to smother and stifle that pursuit because, it is hard to be stretched, to sort of squeeze through the narrow way, that cross-shaped portal, that door. It is hard. And we settle sometimes for the false infinite, for the quick and fleeting pleasure. But the adventure that awaits us, if we can take the way of the cross, infinite. Okay.
What you're interested in, what calls you, isn't going to be exactly the same as what I'm interested in. There's some things that are more universal in their calling. Beauty is a universal calling, right? And what's behind it? These are definitions in some ways. What unites all things beautiful is the divine. That's a good way of thinking about it. Is it real? Well, it depends on what you mean by real. It's more real than beauty. Is beauty real? Well, it's a strange question, isn't it? Because beauty obviously has a subjective element.
Speaking of beauty, your beautiful wife, Tammy, when we last spoke, we talked about her incredible story and her terminal diagnosis, her recovery, miraculous recovery, many say. Many people are asking her today how she's feeling as she's confirmed and brought into the Catholic Church. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, it's been very good for her. So,
has it been good for you? You mentioned unity. Has it been good for your marriage, for the two of you as a couple?
Before he reacts to this question, I just want to say the arc of the life of this, again, very well-known figure, public figure. The arc of his story is just so fascinating. It's really incredible and beautiful. And more over the past few years, we're seeing more and more theophanies or more divine manifestations that he's talking about, alluding to, sharing experiences of, especially now talking about beauty, right? And he's kind of conflating the words beautiful and beauty, I think, here. We could say, like, we encounter the beautiful things in the world, but they're always signposts. They're little sacramental stepping stones to beauty with a capital B. And now this interview is fresh on the entrance of his wife, Tammy, into the fullness of the Catholic faith at the Easter Vigil. And so now he's just been bombarded by the smells, the bells, the incense, the liturgy, the Easter fire, holding a candle in a darkened church with hundreds of people as his wife enters into full communion. And so talk about a theophany. Now let's hear his response to where his heart is.
Has it been good for you? You mentioned unity. Has it been good for your marriage?
No, it's been great.
Why do you say that?
So, I loved my wife from the moment I laid eyes on her when I was a kid. And if you love someone, it hurts you when you see them deviate from the thing that draws you to them. And since she's pursued her efforts at enlightening herself more thoroughly, and this investigation of Catholicism has been key to that, she's much more who she is. And that's great because I love who she is, and so the more of that, the better. And it's the same thing you want to see if you have a child that you love, you want to see them become everything they could be, and that's a lot if they become
I feel like I want to wrap it up now because that's just unbelievably beautiful, is that he's recognizing as his wife Tammy comes closer to Christ and enters into full communion with Christ in this path, she becomes more herself. And that is 1,000% true. That is what the faith is. It is us. It is what St. Irenaeus said, 1,800 years ago. The glory of God is man fully alive. The glory of God is Tammy Peterson fully alive. Jordan Peterson, you, me, everybody. The faith completes us. It makes us more of who we really are in the end. And what a gift to be able to see this through such a public witness and a figure here with his beloved. And we'll see what the next couple of years hold in store for Jordan. But what a gift and what a testimony that we discover ourselves. When we lose ourselves in Christ, we find ourselves. Amen. And God bless the Petersons.